On the phone, ladies and gentlemen, always a pleasure. The politics, the writer of the politics blog at Esquire magazine, among other things, the great Charlie Pierce. Charlie, welcome to the program.
Happy New Year, Sam. What's up?
Happy New Year. Well, just basking in the glow, just finally finished up watching all of the Republican responses to the State of the Union. I think there was like 14.
Did you watch the director's cut of Ted Cruz?
I did watch that, and in fact, we're going to play that in a bit. That was awesome, Ted Cruz, and they tried to remove all of them, but apparently they didn't get him down. He started in, and then about a minute into it, he's like, let me do a second take, and somehow that got out, which was also very impressive. But
Ted, the microphone is always on, my friend.
All right, well, let's start with President Obama, and then let's move into the animatrons and the lunatics.
Okay.
You had a piece up this morning that I think really resonated with me, and I want to talk about that. The
Sure.
fact that President Obama, it was, and I think. I'm of a couple of minds of this. He middle class economics. There was no mention of poverty, but it was about inequality. Just give me tell us what you wrote this morning.
Yeah, I mean, I've been fascinated for a while now about the disappearance of poverty as an issue. Poverty is spoken of only as a potential disaster for the middle class, or for something that can be alleviated if we can move everybody up into the middle class. The immediate effects of poverty on American citizens, and there are still an awful lot of them, I mean, it's not spoken of directly in our politics almost at all anymore. Even Elizabeth Warren talks mostly about the middle class.
And what do you think that's a function of? I mean, is it? I mean, what? Is it just simply, I mean, I guess I have my sense. What is your sense?
Well, I think it's my sense is a couple of things. Number one, it works. Okay, it was the path that Bill Clinton found to get elected a Democratic president. I mean, number one. Number two, I think we're still dealing with the backlash and the retrenchment that occurred under the Reagan years on the idea that the federal government has an affirmative role to alleviate poverty as poverty. And I think some of it, there's certainly race mixed in there, I would think, although there's certainly pockets of poverty in which race is completely irrelevant. Poor people are poor people. But I think all of those have combined to make talking about poverty. It also goes completely against the whole notion of the American dream and American exceptionalism and American, up from the ability where anybody can come up from nothing. But I think that's, I mean, to listen or to read Lyndon Johnson's speech on the war on poverty now, you're almost like listening to something from another planet.
Right.
Or another time.
And it's created this space, I think, where the right has sort of filled it by full-on poor shaming. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is where we get Paul Ryan, saying like, a kid I met. I mean, it was a fake story, and it was a misretelling of what was originally a fake story.
This is the peanut butter sandwich in the bag or whatever it was.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And he said, I asked that kid, what would you rather have? A free school lunch or a brown bag? And he said brown bag because that means I'm loved. And it was something about like dignity, and I don't know. The whole thing is completely garbled. You can give the poor dignity because it doesn't cost anybody any money. Right, and of course it was a fake story, and the moral is, it's better to let them starve, a kid starve, than to take away his dignity. And this sort of poor shaming, the 47%, right? I mean, that's what this is all about. Yeah,
it's takers and moochers and everything else. And I think, I hesitate to say this categorically, although I feel this way. I think middle class economics is the way Democrats have found to talk about takers and moochers. I really do. I mean, many Democrats anyway. And I think that's and while I'm glad that Democrats get elected instead of the people who are formed by the current Republican Party, sometimes when you listen to them talk, about middle class economics, it sounds like they're just talking about trickle down, except from a lower height.
Mm.
You know that you know if we expand the middle class, then poor people will somehow magically become part of it. I mean, that's what a lot of the Democrats, when the Democrats talk so relentlessly about middle class economics, that's the counter melody I hear in my head.
It's interesting because, you know, the counter narrative to that, and I think there's something to that. I mean, the counter narrative to that is that, of course, when you're talking to the American public, just about everybody, regardless of whether they are technically living in how we define poverty in this country, or frankly, whether they're actually in the top 5% of income, when you say middle class, they assume you're talking about them.
Exactly, and I think that's what gives it such political salience, because it's a way to identify with people.
And then the other, I guess the other instance, you know, the other aspect of that is there's also some type of, and I think this gets back to what you're saying about, you know, the moochers and the takers. When you say middle class families, there is some implicit like moral quality to those people. Like, you know,
sure. Yeah.
We just go and work. We're just playing by the rules, and I guess that's into Clinton. Like, I'm playing by the rules, and I just want it to come out okay.
Work for people, work hard, and play by the rules.
Right.
That was his line.
That's right. Well, you know, those people who are just wearing, like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, what that leaves unanswered is what about the people who work hard and against whom the rules are rigged?
Right.
And that's and the poorer you are, the more the rules are rigged.
Well, and that's but I mean, frankly, it's also a way of escaping that notion of there's something systemically going on here that's problematic, right?
No, there's something wrong with America. And that's not a saleable notion right now. I mean, and part of the reason you know it's not a saleable notion is to watch the Republicans flounder in response last night.